Hey James, all right?
Yeah, good mate. You?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, good pal. Uh, I can now, yeah, mate. Absolute pleasure in welcoming you to our obviously sports seminar series. Absolute legend. Obviously, just going to go through your career, James, and just chatting different things. One of the first things I want to ask about is like your early life growing up. What was that like?
Yeah, sort of grew up in Gisborough, small town, obviously near Middlesbrough. And yeah, I had a great upbringing. I had some close friends, and just sort of yeah. I was never forced into playing football or going down any route from my parents. There was never any pressure on me whatsoever. I just sort of enjoyed playing with my mates. I grew up in sort of the 90s where you were out and about with your friends on an evening. And love playing football down the park with everybody. Probably a good 3, 4, 5 friends that we used to sort of go down the park and play together.
So, who did you play local football then? So, like, let's say grassroots.
Yeah, so I was at Martin Juniors from under 8s, 9s. Now it's obviously 7 aside, well, 5 aside, 7 aside, 9 aside, 11. It was straight into 11 aside, big pitch, and yeah, started at Martin and stayed with Martin right up until under 15s. Never went into a school of excellence when it was then.
Why do you
So
think that
yeah,
was,
so
James? What do you think?
um, I had opportunities. I mean, I was at Middlesbrough School of Excellence, trained with Middlesbrough at Ayresome Park. They had like an indoor facility there. I remember Terry Cochran and a few other coaches taking me, but I was quite a timid kid, never like been shouted at, and I just wanted to enjoy playing football. I think a lot of the stuff back then, and I still think it is now, it's very sort of regimented, Cruyff turns, step overs, all this sort of thing. And I used to go there, and I just didn't enjoy it at all. I got told I was too small to play in the games, and I'll be all right to come and train. And I remember once my dad took me to play against Blackpool, and I sat or stood on the sideline the whole game, never got on. And I said, Dad, look, this isn't for me. I'm not coming all this way and not playing. So he went and spoke to one of the Middlesbrough managers, coaches, and said, look, our James doesn't want to do this. And he's like, what do you mean? He said, well, he doesn't want to stand and not be involved. He went, well, people would give the right arm to do this. And he went, well, it isn't what James wants to do, so we're not gonna keep him here. So that was me done as far as academies are concerned, School of Excellence are concerned. I went back to Martin Juniors, played there, and I actually went to Woodgarth, who at under 16s, because Martin folded at under 15s because everybody else went to Man United, Middlesbrough, Sunderland, and I went to Woodgarth in Eston and played with my mates, which was unbelievable. I got Player of the Year, did really well, and yeah, I think I got spotted by Darlington.
Yeah, obviously going on to that though, but do you think that made an effect on you? It's like being left out and just stood there, not even getting a chance of playing, because you remember things in life, so that's got to be hard to remember in that long-term memory. That's something that really affected you by not getting any minutes and watching people play, just standing there.
100%. It's always stuck with me, and in a way, it's probably helped motivate me in terms of like proving people wrong. I've always had to do that. My kids now, 11 and 13, both obviously quite small and diminutive, not physically big, struggle in that respect. And I'm constantly telling them, look, like, don't worry. Like, they get told by their friends and people that are in academies, look, if you're not in an academy by a certain age, you cannot become a professional footballer. And I say the opposite. Like, you don't have to be in an academy to become a professional footballer. I'm proof of that. I know so many people who are proof of that. And you have to believe and focus in just doing what you're doing, keep going. And I try and make them understand that. So it works both ways. Although it was a negative at the time, I've almost turned that into a positive.
Do you think that's hard obviously as a father who does what you do, to see kids get told that? And obviously you've seen it from first hand with your own kids, but you know how development works, especially for young males. They don't reach obviously their puberty until probably 18, 19-year-old. So how's that for you as a father, them coming home thinking, well, it's not really for us, we're being told different things? It must be hard.
It's hard for them, like, because I was in that position. I almost didn't listen to it, and I was oblivious to it because I didn't take it in. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. It wasn't my be all and end all to play football. And I hear my youngest come home and say, I've got a lad who's in my class and he's in an academy, and he keeps telling me that I'm not going to be a professional footballer because I'm not in an academy. And I'm like that's so far from the truth. You're 11 years old. Sunderland wanted to take my youngest when he was 6 or 7, and I'm just like, this is unbelievable. Like, I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. And obviously, I coach both my kids' teams, and I've been down the route. I've seen parents react to when they're 7 and you want to get them in and you want to do this, that, and the other. And by the time they get to 11 and 12, the parents turn around and go, I can't believe how serious I took this. They were so young, and they're still so young. So yeah, I genuinely believe it's tougher for them. But if you try and give them the right advice and try and guide them in the right way, then you're not limiting their beliefs. I believe a lot of young people limit their beliefs. They put sort of hurdles in front of them without even getting anywhere.
I mean, obviously, linking back to yourself then. So at 16, you got took on by Darlington. Is that right? So did you do?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So I scored a hat trick against Darlington Spur lads for Woodgarth, and there was a scout there. They approached my parents, asked if I wanted to. Actually, wrote to me. David Hodgson was the manager, offered me a YTS, and it was coincided with me leaving school. So I decided to take them up on it. And yeah, sort of got offered a 2-year YTS, £42.50 a week.
So what was that like then, going into Darlington leaving school, going in as a full-time YTS, obviously doing, I mean, don't get me wrong, people who understand now, being a YTS and a scholar back then is totally different to what is being a scholar now. Some of the jobs and some of the things that you did were probably far away from what any 16-year-old in a club will do now. What was it like then going into a second or third division club as it was, and obviously changing lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, just going back, sort of, I grew up with two lads. My cousin, Greg Booth, was at Middlesbrough, and my one best mate, you know, Mark Robinson, was at Nottingham Forest, and they were both in academies, school licenses. Mark got released by Nottingham Forest and ended up at Hartlepool. So the three of us that had come up, growing up as kids, had all been offered. I was at Darlington, Mark was at Hartlepool, and Greg was at Middlesbrough. And we all had different routes into it and everything. But we'd all get on the bus together. So we'd all get on the bus from Gisborough, and then I'd get a train to Darlington, Mark would get a train to Hartlepool, and then Greg would stay at Middlesbrough. So we were all going off in our different directions. And then once I got the train to Darlington, I'd walk from the station to Feetham's, and then sort of clean the changing rooms, scrubbing the boots, the stand, everything. Then I'd get back on the train. So my day was like 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. every single day.
Did you? So obviously, I've spoke to a few people. Did you get any other opportunities going into the first team as a 16-year-old, or was it just playing youth team football?
Yeah, so we played Richmond in a pre-season friendly. I remember playing, and the manager putting me in at 16, and I was way off it physically, like what we just spoke about. But I was amazed at how I found myself in certain areas, not being up against people, trying to work it that way. And yeah, I really enjoyed that, and that was probably my first taste of. I can picture it now. It was a boiling hot day, and I absolutely relished in it. I absolutely loved it. And then that was probably my first opportunity. And then obviously I got picked for England trials. Never represented England all the way through up till 16, and I went to Lilleshall and managed to get in to represent my country from like say 3 months in. Like Joe Cole, Peter Crouch, Gareth Barry, Leon Osman, Chris Kirkland, like lads that have gone on and had unbelievable careers. I managed to get in. Again, I scored a hat trick against Chris Kirkland and managed to get myself in that team to go to Poland.
I mean, that's obviously, that just shows the development, though, that you probably weren't even on England's radar. You sign for Darlow, you get one game, and then you're playing with all these players who've obviously gone on to have careers such as yourself. How's that?
That was surreal. I was rooming at the time with Paul Konchesky and another lad that went on and did really well. And they were from London, big cities, and I was from Gisborough, and I'm sat in the room thinking, I just didn't get a word in edgeways. I was quite sort of taken back by it. They were giving it the big one, and I was like, just sat there thinking, what am I doing here? But then as soon as I went on the pitch, it was sort of like I found this way to express myself. I really lacked in confidence, but I never lacked in self-belief. I always believed in myself. I always believed that I had ability and that I could show it, but never sort of had the confidence to put it on people and to be the one that stands up. And I always had trials as a young kid and always sat in the background and never sort of stepped forward. But yeah, some of the coaches saw something in me, and like you say, I was in European Championship qualifiers. I went to Poland, played against Norway, Denmark, Northern Ireland, and that was probably where I got my sort of move to Newcastle, or played a big part in me moving to Newcastle.
So obviously linking into that, so obviously playing for Darlington at a third division club. How long were you at Darlington before you got the move to Newcastle?
So I moved to Newcastle on deadline day in the February. So I was at Darlington about 7 months, 8 months.
It's unbelievable.
And
how did that feel then? To obviously at a club from 16 till you had just before 17, so I say 7 months, and you've gone from Darlington to a huge club like Newcastle, and the manager was Bobby Robson at the time, wasn't
it? It was Sir Kenny Dalglish who signed me,
right.
And I'd gone up to the gaffer's office, Dave Hodgson, and he called me up, and I was like, oh my God, what have I done here? Have I not like painted the dressing rooms right? Or it was that sort of like, you never go into the gaffer's office unless you've done something wrong. And he said, oh yeah, I've just spoke to your dad. And I was like, oh my God. And he went, he's bringing your suit down and you're going up to St. James's Park to sign for Newcastle. And I was like, when you just think like a double take, I was like, what? And he went, yeah, your mum and dad are coming down. You're going to drive up. So we drove up to Newcastle, sat in the boardroom. They offered me an unbelievable deal, like more money than my dad and mum were earning at the time. And I was just like, it was just blown away. So one day training with the YTs to the next day training with Alan Shearer, John Barnes, Ian Rush, Stuart Pearce, all these players that I looked up to and sort of watched on the telly. I was now training with them. It was unreal, surreal moment.
So thinking about the culture change then, what was the culture change for you going from, as you said, cleaning the dressing rooms to becoming a signing at a huge, huge club? How did the culture change for you?
You know what? It didn't change, but it should have. Looking back, I just got the bus as normal. I sat on the bus with my CD player. I eventually passed my test, and then I was still knocking about my mates. I was still living in Gisborough. I should have moved up earlier to Newcastle. I had Nike sponsorships. I had this. I had that. I had agents sniffing around me. Like everything changed, but I didn't change. I didn't take it seriously. It was just me turning up to training every day and playing football. And I went from strength to strength and did really well under Kenny. He got the sack. Then Ruud Gullit came in, and I travelled to Holland, Scotland, Germany, and played pre-season friendlies with Alan Shearer. Partnered him, and was really involved with the first team right up until he got the sack as well. So yeah, it was a really strange environment, but something that I really sort of enjoyed, and I was playing for a Premier League club at the end of the day.
Did you, so thinking about obviously playing with players in like that, did that help you develop? Because you said you didn't take it, you haven't actually appreciated it probably till now. Yeah. What do you think now, thinking back, looking at them train, how was that for you? Did that help you develop, or did you just think, I'm or in awe of them?
A bit of both, really. I was in awe, and I didn't believe that I should have been where I was. I couldn't believe that it was happening to me. And through it all, I was sort of quite ignorant to the fact of where I was, which helped me in a way, because in certain circumstances, I wasn't I didn't understand football, and I didn't come through an academy, so I had that naivety that people sort of liked and sort of probably didn't understand, because everybody in that building was football, and I wasn't. And subsequently, like you say, Bobby Robson came in and put everybody on the transfer list, and that's when I went out on loan to Hartlepool.
But even before that, you made your debut for Newcastle at St James's Park against Tottenham, I think. And
yeah.
I remember having a conversation, obviously, when you came on loan for Hartlepool, and I think you came up against Sol Campbell, and I remember you just saying to me, "Wow, the size of it." But what's that feeling? Just obviously to make your debut, obviously in front of X amount of fans, and obviously Premier League. What was it like?
It was really good because when Bobby Robson came in, he put everyone on the transfer list. So I was really, really worried. I remember speaking to my dad and crying and saying, look, because I'd never even thought about anything leaving Newcastle. What am I going to do? Speaking to Alan Irvine, who was and John Carver, who were my managers at the time, and they said, get out on loan, have a good spell, and sort of see if the gaffer sort of likes you. I went to Hartlepool, did really well, got in the playoffs, came back, and then, like you say, got into the team, got into the squad, and then made my debut, came on at St James's Park in front of 50 odd thousand people, and partnered Alan Shearer up front. And for me at 19, it was a dream come true. It was a dream come true, but I never dreamt of doing that. And when I had achieved it, it was almost like I should have gone on. I should have kicked on. I should have done more. I should have worked harder. But I believe that I didn't have that support network, that support mechanism to call upon when certain things happen.
I mean, so obviously I didn't realise. I thought you'd made your debut before you came on loan to Hartlepool. Do you think coming on loan to Hartlepool, because obviously when you came on loan to Hartlepool, I was there at the time, and we got to the playoffs and we were on an unbelievable run, and you came in and just totally helped us get to where we wanted to get to. Obviously we failed in the playoffs, but playing that first team football, did that obviously help you, give you the belief I can do this?
Yeah, definitely. I think playing reserve team football, having a sort of dipping my toe with Ruud Gullit in pre-season and playing in them games. Like, again, I never wanted that tag of I am a professional footballer and I play for Newcastle United, but I don't actually play for them. I play for the reserves. Like, that wasn't me. Like, I wanted all the way through my my grassroots. I always wanted to be involved. I always wanted to play. So when I experienced that at Hartlepool and I saw the lads and the camaraderie and the turning up on a Saturday and how much it meant to people to win on a Saturday, I wanted that. I wasn't bothered about the money. Money's never been my motivation. I wanted that feeling of turning up on a Saturday and winning a football match. And that meant more to me than anything. So going to Hartlepool, experiencing it, then going back to Newcastle, being given my Premier League debut, I just wanted more.
I mean, you say, like, you sit here now and say you should have worked harder, but reminiscing, do you think you actually worked hard at the time?
I think I worked hard in training, but I could have done more. I said recently in a video about I was controlled by what other people thought about me and what other people wanted me to do. Like, I never took ownership of my life. Like, I used to watch Gary Caldwell and Stevie Caldwell and Aaron Hughes and how much they did off the training pitch. And I used to think I'd love to do that. Like, I want to do that. But then I would hear other people hammering them and criticizing them and saying they're busy and this, that, and the other. And I used to sort of think, well, I don't want to do that because I don't want people to hammer me. I don't want people to hurl abuse at me. But subsequently, Aaron Hughes went on and played in the Premier League his whole career and had an unbelievable international career. And Gary and Stephen Caldwell, both the same, played for Scotland, played in the Premier League, and had unbelievable careers. So I wish I'd have done that. I wish I had the strength and, like I said, the support network where I could have gone, I want to do that. And I wish I had that in me. And that's why I'm very passionate about helping other people, giving other people the opportunities to do that, the understanding and the tools to have and be able to do that.
Going on and thinking about, obviously, that is quite an honest and open, what you're saying there is really, really good for people coming through to say, I think I'm working hard, but I could be better and I could work harder. So obviously then you went back to Newcastle, but you went on loan to QPR, obviously, and then obviously you didn't hardly play there. What was that like?
Yeah, I didn't actually go there. I went straight to Exeter from Newcastle, and it was just, again, it was me. I had a year left in my contract. I could have gone back. I could have played in the reserves. I could have sort of waited and thought, you know what, I'm going to sit around and wait. The manager might leave. I might be able to change his opinion. My granddad had passed away when I was 21. And I just had enough. I just wanted to play football. I wanted to create a reputation. I wanted to start my career. And I got an opportunity to go 365 miles away from home for the first time and apply my trade at a League Two club that had been struggling forever. Looking back now, I can't believe I did that, but I learned so much in them 2 years.
I mean, I was say going to somewhere like Exeter, we're talking about the longest trip. When we played for Hartlepool, going on a trip to Exeter, it was like you're leaving the night before, you're getting back, and you were doing that weekly. So how's that like mentally, psychologically for you, thinking, or was it just a break to think, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to give myself the best opportunity away from distractions, away from anything else that can happen. I'm just going to go and play.
It was almost like just play. I just want to play. I just want to go down there and do what I'd done at Hartlepool. Ironically, I had a meeting with Chris Turner after we didn't get into the playoffs. The second time I came on loan, and he said, if we get promoted to League One, we'll sign you. And if we stay in League Two, we won't. And I was like, how does that even make sense? Like, and he was almost like saying that the next level you would be able to play in and relish, but in League Two, we don't think it would be right for you. So I almost had a little bit of, well, I'll go to Exeter in League Two and prove you wrong. And I went there, first 6, 7, 8 games. I absolutely loved it. Waking up every morning, training, I absolutely loved it. It was the best thing ever. And then the manager gets the sack and a new manager comes in and doesn't really fancy me.
So obviously, so you're a long way from home and a manager comes in and doesn't fancy you. How does that affect you psychologically? Did you have the support of family? Obviously, a girlfriend. What sort of things were that like?
No, I had nobody down there. And struggled massively. Like, I was like, why is this? Like, he was probably in the right and I was in the wrong. I was a young lad thinking I was the bee's knees and thinking I'd just come from Newcastle and like, what is he doing? He's not doing this. And I probably wasn't working hard enough, like we just spoke about. But I couldn't get it into my head. So I resented him as a manager. I resented him as a person. Never got on with him at all. I was in and out the team. And then he got the sack. Sort of in that first season, we had Uri Geller on the board, Michael Jackson on the board, David Blaine had come. They'd all come that season, pre-season. It was unbelievable. What I noticed about that club at the time was there was a losing mentality. They'd been around the bottom of the league for 3 or 4 or 5 seasons, and when you lost, it was a given. And when you won, it was like, oh my God, we've won a game. And straight away, I was thinking, wow, this is strange. And then all of a sudden I started creeping into that mentality. I started almost forming into, when we lose, I'll go out on the drink, it doesn't matter. And yeah, I got sucked into some bad sort of ways of living. And yeah, I learned a lot.
So obviously a new manager came in and fancied you. But did you get relegated that year? Yeah,
we got relegated on the last day of the season. The new manager came in, absolutely loved me, played me every week, almost said to everybody, look, give him the ball and he'll win us games. I think the last 4 or 5 games, I scored 4 or 5 goals. And we had to win at the last game of the season. And I think Hull had to get beat. They won and we won. It was actually Swansea, actually. It was either us or Swansea would go down and they ended up scoring and winning and we won, but we went down. Which is going from Sunday League at 16 to Premier League at 19 to getting relegated out the Football League to non-league at 21, 22 was a mix of emotions, to be honest.
So did you think about obviously leaving, thinking, I'd rather go back in the Football League, I want to go back home? Or did you think, roll your sleeves up, I'm going to fight, I want to get us back into this Football League?
I'd had enough. I went obviously back home in the off season and said, look, I'm not coming back. I'd had enough. And I remember the lads went back to training and I was on the golf course, which is totally out of character for me because that isn't me at all. But that's how strongly I felt about going back there, and I had some bad experiences. And then I received a phone call from Eamon Dolan, who was manager at the time, who's obviously sadly lost his life through testicular cancer. He was unbelievable for me. He sort of rang me and said, look, we want you back. I absolutely love you. I think you've got so much to offer this club. You'd be my main man. Come back and I'll give you Mondays off. You can travel back home. So yeah, I went back down and yeah, I had another fantastic season personally. Sort of.
For me, that sounds, obviously, that's amazing that somebody gives you that support, that confidence. And we talk about in a coaching sense of having that relationship that people build on, And obviously what you talk about there is somebody give you the tools and said, go and play, go and enjoy yourself. How did that help from somebody who's not supportive?
Well, I'd like to think that he saw something in me, and he saw that I didn't have that sort of support when I was down there, and that I actually did really deep down, like I'm telling you, that I did have that work ethic, and that wanting to achieve stuff, but it was just getting it out of me. And I think he saw that, and he saw that in a lot of people. And there's people like that are few or far between, because the manager before that, who didn't like me, who didn't sort of see that, didn't want to make that effort, whereas Eamon did. And so, like, he went on to unbelievable things at Reading. He was head of their academy. He made some real big strides at that club, and I know he's highly thought of at that club. And for me personally, I'll always be grateful to him for giving me that opportunity and showing that support. It just shows how far it can go and how much it means to people, I think.
Absolutely. It's just little things though that really resonate with me, is like giving you that extra day off so you can spend time with your family, or building you up. They're the sort of things as a coach. I know we talk about coaching badges, but we talk about the man management, the personality, the person to person. Is that something that you thrive off?
Yeah, like players are human beings before anything, and you've got to treat them as humans before you treat them as footballers, in my opinion. We all have feelings, and we all work differently. We talk about mind maps, so my mind map's different to everybody else's. How I think is different to every single person and player that I've ever played with. So, as a manager or a coach, you have to find out what makes that person tick, how to get the best out of that person, what motivates that person. And not treat everybody as one. I played with managers that treat everybody as a whole, and you have to do this. And they're the managers that have struggled, that are not in jobs at the minute. Whereas the best ones for me personally are the ones that treat everybody as an individual, and find out what it takes to get the best out of them.
And obviously, with Exeter, did you get promoted and then you signed for Doncaster, or did you not get promoted?
We missed out on the last day for the playoffs, so I could have gone in the January to Doncaster, but I spoke to Eamon and said, look, I'm happy to stay and try it. You showed faith in me. I'm happy to stay and try and help the team get into the playoffs, and hopefully Doncaster will come back in at the end of the season. And like you say, I continued my form, and then I signed for Doncaster at the end of the season, and they'd had 2 back-to-back promotions from the conference into League Two, and then they just won League Two into League One. So I was going from the conference to League One, and going as an understudy to Jermaine McSporran at the time. So I was going in as his understudy, and I was just
as an understudy.
They hadn't, but they signed him from Wickham. I think they were at League One at the time, and I knew that they'd paid money for him and that he was on a better wage than me, and I knew that I was basically going in there as a gamble, because I'd shown promise at Newcastle and then showed a little bit of Exeter, and they'd obviously thought, you know what, we'll take a gamble on this kid. He looks like he's a half decent player, and I went there understanding that and almost saying, you know what, again, having to prove myself that I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to start my career again. And I absolutely loved what Doncaster were offering me. They were offering me an opportunity to play at a good level, and I had to take that.
So obviously, when you signed for Doncaster Rovers, were they still at Bellevue, or had they moved to the new stadium?
No, they were at Bellevue with the orange porter cabins, and then, like you say, they showed me around the training ground, and then they took me to the ground, and I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. But at the same time, like you say, the pitch was unbelievable, and the atmosphere, like you say, we played at Doncaster and played against Man City, played against Aston Villa, played against Arsenal in the cup run at Bellevue, and them nights were unreal. The atmosphere there was unbelievable.
I mean, I played for Doncaster many moons ago, and it was the same where you came out the dressing room and the 2 different tunnels, which is obviously very, very rare. And obviously behind the back, and they had obviously the race course right over the road. What was that transition like then, going from that to the new stadium and obviously being involved in that?
Yeah, so like I say, we were at Bellevue, and there was really talk about a new stadium. Whenever we did pre-season, we did it on the hills right next to where the stadium allegedly was going to get built, and we used to run up it, do hill sprints, and then we get down the back of it, and the manager would go, "That's where the new stadium's going." And the lads that had been there for years would be going, "Yeah, we've heard this forever." And then all of a sudden they got planning for it. It passed, and we were doing hill sprints up there, and they were doing all the foundations, and it was going up, and it was unreal to be part of, because it was the one thing that was missing from the club was that stadium. It sort of coincided with the club moving forward in the right direction. We played at the Keepmoat the first game against Huddersfield, a full house, 15,000 there. And yeah, we went from strength to strength. We won the Johnson's Paint Trophy final at the Millennium Stadium that season, and then the next season getting promoted, beating Leeds at Wembley.
I mean, so obviously, I mean, everyone knows that they've done 16 years at one club. It's unprecedented. What are if you could think about what the main highs of your career at Donny?
I think playing at the Millennium Stadium in front of 80,000, 75, 80,000 people in that final, winning that final. Obviously, Spike scoring the winner who played with at Hartlepool. But playing in that final, then really getting a hunger and thinking, wow, I'd love more of this. This is unbelievable. This feeling and walking out in front of all these people and the build-up and everything. The next season, playing at Wembley, I scored a hat-trick in the semi-final, playoff semi-final on Sky. Playing at Wembley, walking out at Wembley. I've been to Wembley 4 or 5 times with Middlesbrough and watched them get beat on every occasion. Went and watched Newcastle play Man United in the cup final, got beat. So the first time I went to Wembley and won was with Doncaster, and we beat Leeds. And for Doncaster to beat Leeds, the Yorkshire rivals, the size of Leeds compared to Doncaster was unbelievable. So for us to beat Leeds and go into the Championship where Doncaster where John Ryan sort of envisaged the club getting from non-league to the Championship in 7 seasons was amazing. And for me to score that goal at Brentford that won us the League One title in the last minute, they obviously hit the bar to go up.
Thinking about that, what was your feelings when he's about to take that penalty? Because obviously you can't envisage 30 seconds later you're going to score the winner to beat champions. What are your envision? Like, is it just thinking, oh, I can't believe this?
Well, I was at Forest for 6 months of that season, the first 6 months on loan. So coming back in the January and playing every game and playing a big part to getting us to that situation, we had to beat Brentford. Or we only had to draw against Brentford on the last day of the season to get promoted. And if we'd have won, we'd have won the league. So it was 0-0 all the way, 90th minute, and they get a penalty. So if they score the penalty, they go up, and we go in the playoffs. And I'm just stood on the edge of the box. I think my hands on my hips, thinking I'm going to have to make that travel from Gisborough all the way to Doncaster for 3 weeks, and 3 weeks more training. And then all of a sudden he hits the bar, bounces down. I turn around and Billy Painter stood on the halfway line, and the ball gets cleared to him. And I reckon 10 of the Brentford lads had just collapsed onto the floor. One lad was running back. I turned around and just started running past this lad, ran the full length of the pitch. Billy Painter squared it to me. I tapped it in, and we win the league. I throw my shirt into the crowd and then have to put somebody else's shirt on to get on the pitch. I get on the pitch and the full-time whistle goes. We go up as champions. I think Bournemouth finished second, and Brentford go into the playoffs. And again, you can't write them sort of things. Them things stick with you forever. And that's why all the sacrifices, all the hard work, all the dedication, all them things for that moment are worth it, without a doubt.
All their sacrifices. As a footballer, the sacrifices that you make, they're probably well worth it. But what do you think is the biggest sacrifices that you make as a footballer?
If you do it right, just in my opinion, if you want to achieve and be successful, it's 100%. You can ask my wife and my kids. I'm 100% all or nothing person. So every single day, even when I'm not at training, I do switch off and I do other things. But when it comes to eating the right things and sort of looking after myself, all them sort of things, you have to make sure that that you do it properly. So probably for 20 years, I've never been able to switch off. When the off season comes, it's unbelievable the effect it has on my body and my sort of mental state. It's 2 or 3 days. I'm done. I'm finished at the end of the season because I put so much into probably an 9 month season. And that's what I've been doing. I'm 39 now, 40 next year, and hopefully it'll continue next season. But you have to put everything into it, in my opinion.
I mean, so if you're thinking about it, you've played 16 years at one club, unbelievable amounts of teammates. I mean, I read somewhere it was nearly 220 teammates. Who are the players that have had a lasting effect on you?
You know what? The ones that have had the lasting effect on me are the ones that love football as much as me. They're the ones that absolutely live and breathe football. The ones that, like Billy Sharp, Brian Stock, Richie Wellens. Richie Wellens now manager of Swindon. Billy Sharp obviously playing in the Premier League, scoring for Sheffield United in the Premier League. These are the ones that have lasting impact on me. These are the ones that I talk to and have roomed with and have fed off. Infectious personalities. I think the ones that are really, really deep down are doing it more than just for the money. They're doing it because they want to do well for their families and for themselves. They want to play football to win things.
So you talk about work ethic there. Are they the people you relate to because of their work ethic, and they've got that same work ethic as yourself, and you can relate to them? Is that how it works for you?
They have a winning mentality, and that doesn't mean win at all costs. It just means when we're playing or when we're training, it's we're there to do it properly. Like for me personally, I live and die by this. But why waste time being average? So you're there, you're training. So why waste time like just going through the motions? You're actually wasting time just doing it half-assed. Like do it properly. Like put everything you can into an hour. I say it to my kids now. You train for an hour. So do your best for an hour, work hard for an hour, focus for an hour. And then as soon as that hour's finished, you can go back to the way you were. And that's the way I look at things. When I'm training, I try and I'm all or nothing. I'm in on it. And you do have days where you don't feel right, but they're the days that for me, you can then go, oh, I got through that and I didn't feel right. And that you're going to have days on a Saturday when that happens. So you can almost use that as a testing sort of situation.
I mean, that's what you're talking about there. It's a great psychological trait. Have you ever had any psychological training through football where somebody said to you, we're going to work on your mental strength? Are you going to work on your mental capabilities? So obviously, because we talk about psychological commands and they talk about how 1%, 2% of players can be at the same level, but it's the psychologically strong ones that will continually be better.
For me, it's the biggest thing. I talk about it a lot because I have my own business helping players, coaching players with the mental side of football. And I worked with somebody at 23 who changed my life completely around how you think. And that it's an ongoing process. I'm constantly doing it. I'm constantly sort of building things in my own mind to deal with certain situations. So for me personally, it's the biggest part of football. It's the biggest part of life is how you think dictates how you act. So if you're thinking in a certain way, you're going to get a certain result. And understanding that you can change the way you think to get a different result. I think a lot of people go through life and in sport and think, oh, I wish things had changed for me. I wish I'd get a better result. But they're constantly thinking in the same way, and you're just not going to happen. So for me, it's about changing your mindset, understanding, look, I need to change this, changing the way you think about something, and you're guaranteed 100% you're going to change your outcome. You're going to change your performance. So I'm huge on it. It's something that changed my life, my career, and it's not a coincidence. From that moment when I had one session with this person, my life was at this position. Since then, my life, both on the pitch and off the pitch, has just gone from strength to strength.
Did he open up your mindset?
He did, because I was ready. I wanted it. I wanted to know why I'd gone from there to there to there. Like, why? Like, my technical ability hadn't changed. If anything, my technical ability had got better. So all of a sudden, I find myself in the Premier League, and now I find myself in non-league. Why is that? And it was all about how I was thinking. I was letting people control what I did. I was letting people affect me. I talk about the sort of don't let the outer world affect your inner world. Don't allow what's going on outside you affect what's going on inside. And I was doing that on a massive scale. So learning to control that and learning to understand, you know what, come out your comfort zone, tell people I'm not doing that. Do you know what I mean? I'm not listening to you. I'm not listening to you. I can do this my own way, and listen to the right people. As soon as I realized that, like say, my results went from strength to strength.
I mean, a lot of people will not come out their comfort zone. They're very, this is it, I'm in my comfort zone. So how do you think then you can send a message to get people out that comfort zone, open that mindset, and do you know what, you can do this, you can be better? How do you think you're going to send that message and help people moving forward?
I don't think it's for everybody. Listen, not everybody wants to achieve exceptional things. Not everybody wants to do their own thing, and that's understandable. Look,
I think everyone wants to do things. I just don't think they have the capabilities.
I don't know. I come across a lot of people, and as soon as I did this, I was like, right, I want to change. I want to change. I want to make people aware of what this is, and like I wanted to change everybody. But I understand now that not everybody wants to be changed. Not everybody wants to be changed. Not everybody wants to go down this route. But I also know that there's people out there that do, but just don't know how to do it. And it's not rocket science. It's not weird and wonderful magic stuff. I hear people talking about like mental health and all this, that, and the other. And it's as simple as being honest with yourself, understanding where you are and understanding where you want to go. And then thinking, right, how am I going to do that? Right, I'm going to go and seek this advice and this advice. And I'm going to go and model excellence. I'm going to go and model the people that have actually achieved it and find out how they did it. Find out who they spoke to and what sort of things they did. And I know that sounds simple, but a lot of people don't want to do that. And you know what? A lot of people want to share their successes, like myself. A lot of people actually want to go, because they've come from a similar sort of background to me. They've been through struggles like me. And a lot of people want to share their experiences and help other people. And that's where I'm at. I would love to, and I do help people. Since I'm putting videos out, I've had a lot of people contact me, want to find out what it is and how it is that I can help people. And I love that. If I can help one person, it makes it all worthwhile for me.
I mean, that's fantastic that you're willing to do that. But going back to the football again now, James, you've had 10 different managers, if I think I've worked out with Donny. What do you think the different coaching styles have helped you with your longevity? Is there any coaching style that you prefer? Or do you think it's different managers and going back to that man management style?
I don't think personally it's coaching styles. I'd say it's more about consistent behaviours and consistent messages. As a manager, I feel like win, lose or draw, you have to be consistent. You have to send out the right message, because one thing's for sure, you're going to get beat. And for me personally, it's about making sure that if you get beat, it's not with the worst team ever, and if we win, with the best team ever. So the best managers I've ever worked for are the ones that are consistent with their behaviours. We lose on a Saturday. I've always lived by this rule, the 24-hour rule. If I win and score a hat-trick, I've got 24 hours to enjoy it. And then after that, I get on to the next, we focus on the next game. If we get beat 10-0 and I've had a shocker, I've got 24 hours to feel sorry for myself, and then I move on and we go again. I've always lived by that for I'd say probably from the last 10, 12 years, and it stood me in good stead, because it creates that consistency of, right, I'm moving on to the next game. Whereas I think a lot of players focus on I scored a hat-trick, I can just live on that for the next 3-4 games. But as far as managers are concerned, the best ones for me are the ones that are consistent with their behaviours and the ones that send the right messages and consistent with their messages, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. When I played for Donny many moons ago, I had people like Graham Jones, Gary Brabin, John Schofield, and your current manager, Darren Moore, in the team I played with. And I always looked up to them when I was a young kid. These were unbelievable people, not just footballers, people. They had a winning mentality. Obviously, Graham Jones has gone on to a fantastic success coaching. Obviously, Gary Brabin's was with him at Luton. John Schofield managed. And obviously, Darren's your manager now. And obviously, when I saw Darren play, I would never have actually thought he's going to be a manager. But he had the traits because he wanted to win. Does he have that winning mentality now?
Oh, massively. And everyone who sees the gaffer is like, oh, he's a scary guy.
But he was
and when I used to play,
I'll be honest.
yeah, that's what I mean. When I played against him, he used to kick you up in the air and used to give you all sorts, nip you, and but then as a manager and as a person, he's the best person. You know, like he give you the time of day. He's really consistent with everything that he does. And Scully's actually our assistant, along with Jamie Smith. So Scully's actually with the first team now. So and Scully's the same, like really bubbly, really good coach. Really delivers his message, as in he's not too serious, but the lads can relate to him. Gets a good work environment going at the same time as having a bit of crack and a bit of a laugh.
Well, he when I was first signed for Donny was Scoy, and
right.
a story about him many moons ago was he winning mentality. He used to be the vilest player I've ever played with. He used to put Vicks on his shirt, and he used to like just I'm going to put this in someone's eye because it might put him off the game for 5 minutes, and I might get driven to win, and it was like. And I remember him saying once, and I'm 19-year-old, I've just come out of non-league football, and there was a big fight took place, and he was all in, and I'm like 5'10", wringing wet, and I couldn't fight sleep. And he didn't go in, they'd have you in the dressing room, so I'm at the back behind Brabs going, go on. Is that sort of the winning mentality they've got now still?
Yeah, it never goes, and I think to play at a certain level, you need that mentality. But again, it's a lot of it's down to performance as well. It's more about if you perform or if you work towards a performance on a Saturday, 9 times out of 10 that win will come. It can't be solely win. You've got to enjoy what you do. You've got to enjoy training. You've got to enjoy playing on a Saturday. And the way we play, the way we've played this season has been enjoyable. And we have an unbelievable training environment where, like I just said there, the lads, the group. We push each other, and there's no egos. There's nobody that sort of does their own thing. We're all as one, and I feel like that's the way you need to do it.
That's unbelievable. And thinking about, obviously, you had your testimonial, and obviously, a lot of high profile came from that, from when Louis Tomlinson played in that testimonial. How did that feel, having high profile people bring your name to prominence, to national exposure?
Yeah, he had a big affiliation with the club, obviously from Doncaster himself. Trained with us a few times and played in a few reserve games. So, I mean, he's a great.
He's the greatest Donny player, which I wouldn't disagree with. But how obviously for him to play in your testimonial to bring people through the gate, that's got to be obviously fantastic for you as obviously a young lad playing for Doncaster Rovers. You don't ask.
No, he's an unreal person. He's a really down-to-earth, genuine guy, humble person. We sold out all the boxes, so I went round with him before the game, and we went through all. It was so funny. We went into every box, and it was my testimonial. But obviously, Louis was there, and a lot of them were there to see Louis, and it was as if I was part of One Direction. It was like all these like girls screaming, and like it was ridiculous, showing like tattoos of Louis' signature on them, and it was unreal. It was a great insight for me to get a different outlook and what he's been going through on a massive scale elsewhere. But he was just a genuine guy. Had time for all the ex-Doncaster players that turned up, my families, all the fans that turned up, signed everything. I couldn't speak highly enough of him, and he obviously loves his football as well.
And obviously now we're thinking about how's lockdown for you, obviously, because the season still hasn't been curtailed for League One. What's training like? What's programs being given? Until you find out, what's that been like?
It's tough, but I've always enjoyed running by myself. I've always enjoyed working. I've got I can motivate myself massively. So I've never struggled with the off season and building up to pre-season, going out and running. I've always felt like that helps me, helps my mentality, and to push myself. I've got things that I can sort of time it. I do put my earphones in and go for runs, and I can zone out, and it does give me the opportunity to think and get away from the 3 kids that I've got and the 2 dogs. But joking aside, I've been doing Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday runs, Wednesday off, weekends off. Like I say, we don't know whether we're going to be back next week, next month. I'd be very, very surprised if we do go back based on what I'm hearing. And obviously my contract's up at the end of the season, so I'll find out in the next 3-4 weeks, hopefully, whether I'm going to get a contract for next season.
I mean, obviously talking about that, I've just read recently that you said you will continue playing even if you don't get another contract at Donny. But even looking at your stats, I mean, this is my personal opinion, is your assists, even in the last year, have been one of the best in the league. So I can't speak for them, but if you were released, would you think about playing and carrying on, or do you really want to stay?
Yeah, I think I started the first 28 out of the first 30 games. Most assists in our team, up there in the division. Don't play as many minutes now at 39, and sort of not played the last sort of 5-6 games of the season as many minutes as I wanted. But obviously there's as you do get older, the seasons get longer and it's hard to maintain that form for that amount of time. But I feel fit when I'm doing these runs. I feel really good. I'd definitely play next season regardless of where it is. I do feel like obviously yourself, people that I speak to and say, look, play as long as you can, because once you're done, you're done. That's it. There's no going back. You're not going to go, yeah, I'm going to come back, especially at 39, 40. So it'd be a shame for me to just not knock it on the head just because I'm coming up 40. Every day I get out of bed and drive to training, I think I can't wait for this. Or I don't think, oh my God, I wish I wasn't doing this. So hopefully I'll get another contract and hopefully I can play on for another season at Doncaster.
Yeah. So now thinking about, obviously, because you probably do think about what's going to happen later in life, what am I going to do after? What are the future plans for you? Because obviously I know you've got your Kicks Academy and I know you support your local club, Gisborough Town. That's like fantastic thing to do. So what does the future hold?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I'm doing things that at 39, I'd be silly to not have been able to do something or not thinking about what's next for me. So I've like I say, I've got Kicks Academy, and that's for kids between 2 and 6. So you think Kicks Academy, so a football academy for kids between 2 and 6, but it's more about sort of helping them grow as little. You should see some of the kids that come. It's absolutely unbelievable. Some of the stuff we do. We've got 2 female coaches and 2 male coaches. It's for girls and boys. It's more around enjoyment, building, growing, gaining that confidence. Yeah, because we've had kids come that won't even go out the house and won't talk to people at school and nurseries, and then all of a sudden they come to our academies and they go from strength to strength and they make huge sort of strides. And we've got one in Middlesbrough, one in Redcar. The coaches are unreal, and I got involved with that because I loved the morals and I loved what it stands for. It's about making a difference to kids at a young age, and I believe that football should never be thrown upon people too early. I've had kids, and there's so much time to throw them into the serious part of football. Whereas I think with Kicks, it's like, have a bit of fun, enjoy it, do the little games and do the little things, and then when you do get to 6 and you join a team, then you can start taking it a little bit more seriously. And for the Gisborough thing, it's exactly the same reason. I want to give back. Gisborough is such a fantastic little town with a huge potential of turning that club into something really, really special within the community. In my opinion, every town like Gisborough should have a community hub where everybody can go and create something special, be part of something special, and have an environment where you can learn and get better and improve and go on to really big things. And we've got an elite academy there. We're partnered up with Prior Purse Club now. That's for school leavers. And we've got a full junior section, 18s, 23s in the first team. And it's been unreal. So all them things, along with a business acquisitions company that I've set up, which is a total different thing, but I'm really enjoying that. I've got a lot of things to focus on, but again, I'd be silly not to. And like I say, I don't genuinely know what's next for me once I hang my boots up, but I'm looking forward to it. Is
coaching on the horizon? Have you done your badges? Is that something that you've done that you want to get into?
I've been coaching my kids' teams now for 5 years, and it's been unbelievable. Just watching the kids that I've got and implementing a lot of things that I've spoke about on here with the parents. We have groups now that we can't speak. We have sort of WhatsApp groups, and they've got the kids running and sending their times on, and we have strength programs. I've put a little bit of a mental sort of program together for them. They're 13 now, so I feel like they can start sort of looking into it and reading up on a little bit about what it is and understanding a little bit more about it. So I do enjoy the coaching side of it, and I do enjoy giving a little bit back, but I'm not sure whether that's something that I'll go into full time in the professional capacity. But again, until I'm done playing, who knows? I honestly don't know.
I think while you've always got kids, you're always going to be involved in the coaching and the systematic side of it, aren't you?
Yeah, I haven't got a choice. And it's like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for me, Sunday. Like, and my daughter obviously goes to kicks on a Saturday and a Sunday. So I honestly, I absolutely love it. And I think the biggest thing that I have learned is, and you'll know this, is you're only as good as the coaching that you receive. So I believe that if you've got good coaches that are doing things for the right reasons and are trying to make you a better person and a better footballer, you've got a real good chance of improving. So that's the one thing I have learned, that I try and educate the coaches at Gisborough, I try and educate the coaches in kicks, and I try and educate the lads that I'm working with in and around my kids' teams, because 20 plus years as a professional footballer and growing up playing for Martin Juniors and going through the whole system, there's a hell of a lot that I've seen, and I don't force it upon anybody. I don't profess to know everything about football, but at the same time, if I can help anybody, then I'm more than happy to do that.
I think a lot of people would understand that, and as I say, James, it's been an absolute privilege talking to you, for you sharing them experiences with obviously people who are listening and future people who want to listen to this. It's been an absolute pleasure. If there was one little bit of advice you could give to young people, what do you think that would be?
I get asked this quite a lot, and probably because it worked for me, is you've got to believe that. Belief is the biggest thing for me. You've got to believe that you're the best player. I say it to my kids all the time, that if you're stood there when I'm talking to you and I'm asking you to do certain things, if you're not stood thinking that I'm the best player in this team, and that doesn't mean going around saying I'm the best, I'm better than you, I can do this, you can't. I just mean you've got to believe in yourself. You've got to believe that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. I think if it's humanly possible, I know if it's humanly possible to do something, I think you can do it. And I say that to my kids all the time. Don't put limitations on what you can achieve. And that's as simple as being told you're not good enough, being told you're too small, being told you're too heavy, being told you're not fit enough. As soon as you get told that as a kid, you believe it. And then all of a sudden you start to think, I can't do that because I'm too small. And what I'm saying is believe in what you think you can do. Like, you can achieve anything. So for me, belief is the biggest thing, and that's what I always try and tell people, and that's probably the biggest bit of advice that I could pass on.
That's an unbelievable bit of advice. And as I say, James, obviously it's a really sunny day, so I really appreciate your time coming on and obviously chatting. So I'm going to let you get off and go and spend some more time with the kids, or go on a run, or whatever you're going to do. Really appreciate it. What a top man. Thanks, pal.
My pleasure. All the best.
Cheers, mate.